Monday Night Football is upon us, and today we have ourselves a little doubleheader to dig into. But that doesn't mean we're going to do anything different than what we normally do on this channel for Monday Night Football slates. We're going to dig in, compare projections and ownership projections from our friends at Stokastic. We'll hop over to the world of ETR, see what those players are going to play today while using the solver to see what the optimal cash lineups are, along with some sims on there. We'll run some sims on Stokastic. I'll do a hand-build simming out. By the end of this video, you'll know all the industry leaders' must-plays, along with some ways to build unique lineups, 3 of them, in fact, on today's slate. But let's get into it. Hope it was a good main slate for you guys yesterday. Hope it was a good Sunday Night Football, which I have to say, didn't expect that game script. Had some good lineups, really, on both slates yesterday, including a Captain Romeo Dobbs, really the only one I played last night because I was doing kid bedtime and stuff like that. It was a weird slate. I felt like 2 of my best lineups got killed by Malik Neighbors in one, Darnell Mooney in another. That's just the way it goes sometimes, but some catastrophic injuries this week. Malik Neighbors tearing his ACL confirmed this morning. That sucks. The good news, though, is that we have Justin Fields back on today's slate. So let's hope that's a fun one today. Let's look at these projections, including the number 1 projected guy on today's slate. That is Devon Achane at number 1. And if you want to see more of this data for yourself updated throughout the day on Stokastic, make sure to use that promo code SPLASH over at Stokastic. Gets you 15% off. And it's a major way to support the show because half the money you pay to Stokastic comes back to me. So please do check that out if you want to get this data when they do update it later today. But Devon Achane, number 1, 21.2 fantasy points. He's going to be an incredibly chalky play based on the little peek at ownership I got before doing the show. Usually try to keep myself unspoiled, but I could not do that today. And it seems like you're going to get 85 to 90% Devon Achane played by the field today. The big thing with Devon Achane right now, he's being targeted more than any receiver on the team for Miami. So that's something that stands out in terms of just pure counting stats. He's getting 7.7 targets a game. That is dead even with Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek is getting targeted 28% of the time he's running a route. Devon Achane getting targeted 29% of the time he's running a route. So a bare minimum difference there, but it is still something where you're saying Achane is getting targeted more than Tyreek Hill. You'd be correct. Achane, though, has been losing some of that red zone role. In particular, Ollie Gordon last week, really played pretty well. Also got a fine for going helmet to helmet. He is a hard runner, but he's been playing well overall, averaging 0.4 EPA per rush is Ollie Gordon, 0.1 EPA per pass, even though he's not getting targeted anywhere near as much as Achane. He is a guy that's seemingly being competent in that capacity. He's also getting right now more red zone opportunities per game than Devon Achane is. Achane's getting 1 red zone intended touch per game, 0.3 of which are inside the 10-yard line. Ollie Gordon right now getting 1.3 per game, including 1 inside the 10-yard line. So unfortunately for Achane, that does limit the upside a little bit. The good news is if you are playing the doubleheader today, you don't have to worry about placing him in captain or not. But I do think if you're playing that showdown today, Achane as captain certainly can work, but the Ollie Gordon presence is like not great for Achane, even though Gordon's only getting 4.7 intended touches a game. That can continue to creep up because they have been looking for this power back to go along with it. I think they're probably not displeased with the results they got the last time they played with Ollie Gordon getting more work. We'll see what happens today. Miami is a favorite, only favored by 2.5 points, but they are a favorite. So Devon Achane, a great play, but certainly, again, Ollie Gordon just pulls a little bit away that maybe make you feel a little bit less concrete about a guy who's going to be 90% played by the field today. Justin Fields at number 2. My boy is back. Concussion. Desperately need him to get going this week because advance rate suffering with no Jaden Daniels going this weekend. Some of the outlier performances like Pickens and Sunday Night Football. Still above average, but it could be better. That said, for Justin Fields, 20 fantasy points here. He and Achane, your only guys projected above 20. I love Justin Fields here. The matchup versus Miami, as we've talked about, this is one of the teams you want to attack every week. Giving up 0.4 EPA per drop back, almost 0.5 EPA per pass. A 93% catchable ball rate is what Miami's given up so far. And for the Jets, we have seen the team be good. We've seen the team be incredibly bad the last time Fields played against Buffalo. The offense looked better last week with Tyrod Taylor, but would Fields have done the same thing? I think so. Some people out there might not. But Fields, with that Buffalo game, really knocking down his numbers. He's only got a 73% catchable ball rate, which is towards the lower part of the league right now. If you want to fade Fields, I think you would lean into the fact that, like, we've seen a real downside. If you don't want to fade Fields, he runs 8.5 times a game, including 2 of which are in the red zone. He's throwing deep, not super often, only 1 deep target a game, but he hasn't thrown a pick yet on the year. He's only getting sacked 2.5% of the time. There are good things with Fields. The biggest issue is just that the Jets have been getting up a ton of pressure. He's seeing pressure on 55% of his dropbacks, which is higher than even Lamar. And we saw kind of how that works the bad way with Lamar in the game yesterday. For Justin Fields, it is sort of a risky spot against the Miami team that blitzes 41% of the time. They're hurrying the QB 11% of the time. I think there's opportunity for that with Fields, but that said, if you want to fade Fields, keep in mind, probably playing that Dolphins defense would be one way to do that. I still will be playing a lot of Fields. He's going to be my favorite QB on the slate, especially on a slate where there isn't a lot of natural rushers. Definitely not anybody running about 9 times a game. But for Fields, I think he's the best QB on the slate. Unfortunately, the projections seem to think that too. Bo Nix, very high total for Denver. He's the 3rd highest projected guy at 19.05 fantasy points. So about a fantasy point lower than Justin Fields in Stochastics data. But Denver projected for 26 implied points here. Do you think J.K. Dobbins will be an easy click to make today? He's definitely one of the first guys that occurred to mind for me, given the game script and the fact that we saw Cincinnati be so bad. And you also have Denver being a 7.5 point favorite at home here. For Bo Nix, though, if you play him instead, if you fade Fields, you play that Dolphins defense, I think there is a very tournament game theory approach there. We're playing the Denver passing game more, playing Cortland Sutton and Troy Franklin, your 2 lead receivers. Marvin Mims' role has completely disappeared, but it's really weird because Mims last year, they would scheme him targets. He wasn't the real number 2 receiver. This year, they tried him out as number 2, didn't really like it, moved over to Troy Franklin a little bit more there. But they're not giving Mims the touches he got last year where there was schemed low ADOT stuff, also the occasional deep target. He's not really getting that stuff as much. Point being, though, is there's a lot of ways to stack Denver. You do have Evan Ingram back this week as well. So I think that for Bo Nix, he's a very important potential tournament pivot here, and I think people may be sleeping on the team total being so high for Denver here. Their 26 implied points is higher than any other team on the slate by about 2.5. Miami's got 23.5. Denver's got 26. So I think Bo Nix, potentially an important play tonight, and certainly for me, I think if I'm not getting Fields in a lineup, I don't think it's a brave take, but getting more Bo Nix makes sense. Tua. So Tua, a guy that I do not like very much. A lot of DFS players don't like very much, but he's 5,200 on this slate. Definitely a price point pivot to Justin Fields. He's not running anywhere near as much as Fields does. He only runs 1 time per game. The Jets defense has been awful, bad versus the pass, giving up a 0.3 EPA per dropback, 0.31 EPA per pass. Also in the run game, giving him a 0.2 EPA per rush there. There should be opportunity for Tua to build off of that. If any success comes for Achane, any success comes for Ollie Gordon, Tua will have his life be a little bit easier. But really, it's a spot to me here where, and again, would have thought maybe not the same thing last night. It ended up being a crazy shootout. This spot looks like on paper to be a crazy shootout, kind of like Chicago, Las Vegas did. And, those games don't necessarily end up to be crazy shootouts. But when you have 2 defenses giving up incredibly high efficiency in the pass game, and in the Jets' case, giving up really high efficiency in the run game, Miami's not great in the run game either. They're giving up a plus CPA per run too. This game should be the shootout. So unfortunately, I think everybody's going to know that coming in. But that does make Tua a valid play on the slate. If you're playing a 150 max, if you're getting some Tua. If you're playing a 20 max, I wouldn't begrudge limiting all your lineups to basically being Fields and Bo Nix. But it's a better total for Tua. Certainly, if Tyreek gets there, if Waddle gets there, if Darren Waller making his debut somehow gets there, Bo Nix will be maybe beaten out by a guy like Tua. So Tua, not my favorite player ever. I would much rather play Justin Fields, but the field will also rather play Justin Fields, and that makes Tua a better play. And he's your number 4 projected guy, ahead of Jamar Chase at number 5. Obviously, a catastrophic game last time out for Cincinnati with Jake Browning. Just looking awful. His underlying numbers have also fallen apart. He's been really bad under pressure. Right now, Jake Browning is seeing pressure on 49% of his dropbacks, giving up about 1.3 EPA on those plays. For comparison, Justin Fields, a guy people shit on pretty aggressively for how he handles pressure and how he falls apart. He's only got a negative 0.4 EPA. So for comparison, thus far, limited sample size stuff, you're talking about Jake Browning being roughly 3x worse than Justin Fields at his worst under pressure. So for Browning, that's not great. Browning was not bad when he filled in previously. He wasn't bad when he filled in for Joe Burrow the first game. So I'm not sure we always see, Minnesota kind of situations for him. But if you have Surtain on Jamar Chase, if you have that situation, it does make it a little bit tougher to trust Cincinnati to do anything here against the Denver defense that is pretty good despite some middling results to start the year. So Jamar Chase at number 5, an 8K salary. I think the ownership is going to project him incredibly high as well. T. Higgins very live as a fade on this slate for what it's worth. Denver playing man defense 51% of the time. And T. Higgins getting targeted, limited sample size throughout the few games they've had. 37% of the time T. Higgins is running a route. He's getting targeted versus man. For comparison, Jamar Chase is only getting targeted 10%. It's been really bad versus man defense. I don't expect that to hold for him to be bad versus man defense all year. But from what we've seen this year, and it's really been the case going back a couple years, there is still big upside for Jamar Chase because he can break a 50-yard touchdown out of nowhere. But T. Higgins has been a more reliable player versus man defense, can do a little bit more in contested catches. I know that might sound like sacrilege, but that's just the way it's gone for the Bengals for a few years. I think T. Higgins is very live as Jamar Chase pivot on the slate with that price tag. And this is incredibly expensive. Like the fact that right away, large portion of the field is going to spend $15K on Achane and Jamar Chase should tell you some ways you can build unique lineups just by using game theory. You play the Dolphins pass game, you play T. Higgins. That's some ways to get different. Shout out to all you guys watching live. Got my guy Chunk here. Of course, a lot of you guys watch after the fact, the Mondays videos as well. So I appreciate whenever you're watching here, guys. But please do show some love. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Hopefully these videos add some value to your process. Even if you're just looking for things to fade that I say, it would be hurtful because I get so many things right. Get enough wrong. It's football. But please hit the like button. Please subscribe here. It goes a long way for me here. Just one guy showing you my work. We are keeping up that hot streak of 100 like videos for everything besides the Sunday video. There's no shelf life whatsoever. So please help me keep finding the YouTube algorithm. Hit the like button. Subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, hit the like button. Hit the follow button on there. As you can see, all my content funneling through there whenever I go live. Your top values in the slate, Justin Fields. Again, he'll come up in a lot of lineups. Sucks. I really want to play Fields today. I mean, good for my best ball stuff is one of my highest exposed QBs, but for Justin Fields right now, he is going to be the most obvious play on the slate, and I think he should be with an obvious stacking target, Garrett Wilson, an obvious rushing upside, a decent team total here where 3 touchdowns are expected for the Jets. Certainly if Fields fails, Dolphins defense looks better. If you're playing the showdown, Jets kicker looking a little bit better as well because Fields drives can stall out for sure. But I still like Fields in the slate. Dolphins have shown us nothing so far. So I'll certainly be living and dying on the Fields chalk today. Bo Nix, your number 2 value. We talked about him. Tua, your number 3 value. Dolphins D, a very obvious number 4 value. Only 3,200 on this slate, facing Jake Browning, who we saw get endlessly pushed by the Vikings last week. The Broncos don't have an Isaiah Rodgers, a guy who's like been a freak on the field so far. He's run the fastest of anybody in the NFL in like 8 years, I think was what it was. He ran 23 miles per hour. He wreaked havoc last week for the Vikings. Broncos don't have that guy. They have shut down corners. They have a structurally sound defense, giving up negative EPAs in every facet of the game, pass game, run game, short throws, long throws, all that. The Broncos D is rock solid, but certainly another defense getting a takeaway could make this Broncos chalk as a defense come up short. Devon Achane, your number 5 value. So really tells you it all here. Fields, Achane, Broncos going to be a large part of these lineups, and we'll see what else comes in besides that. Other values to note, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, decent RB values. J.K. Dobbins, not a bad value. Troy Franklin, Garrett Wilson, Cortland Sutton. But once again, it is a slate where there isn't like a 3K value guy you want to pop in. Rondé Gadsden, a guy that frankly, I'll blame you guys. I think you guys in the chat talked me into a little bit more. I played too much Gadsden, and I think we always want those little cheap plays to hit. A.D. Mitchell had a decent enough day to make I think actually made the Millie Maker winning lineup. So, or at least one of the top 2 in the Millie Maker. Those value guys sometimes can work, but there really isn't anybody that comes up as super obvious here. Again, I like, Mims at 3,700. I think you can play those guys, but projection wise, there isn't like a 3K guy, a $2,500 guy at tight end if you're trying to jam in. So let's keep that in mind here when you do play those kind of shitty players. Let's go to ownership next. Making decent pace here. All right, Devon Achane, 87% expected ownership. It's a lot of Devon Achane. Certainly would say he's an easier fade in whatever FanDuel contests there are going on. This is tough. This slate blows. You're getting a doubleheader slate on Monday Night Football. I do think that the doubleheader slates are a little bit harder than showdown slates because your showdown principles sometimes don't work as well. Just fading, player X and trying to get different. Thursday we talked about fading JSN, fading Trey McBride. Those guys had decent enough days, still didn't make a winning lineup because the fade ended up paying off there. On a 2-game slate, you kind of still end up with these guys like an Achane that might be a fade in a showdown, making a winning lineup. So I think that's something with Devon Achane here that stands out for me in a doubleheader slate. I'll certainly play more of them than not. That's what you got to keep in mind here. If you don't play Achane, 13% of the field will be there. You are on such an island if that hits. If Achane gets hurt, I think, unfortunately, playing some lineups here where you say, if not playing Achane, boost Ollie Gordon, if you're using the solver. Same thing on Stochastic. I would try to hand grab some lineups that have, select one, no Achane, yes, Ollie Gordon. That's one way to try to tackle it. But certainly Dolphins pass game, a more obvious way to try to capture the upside without Achane. Dolphins pass game plus Ollie Gordon. Like another way to do that. But Achane, 87% owned is just a crazy number. Jamar Chase, to me, feels like an easier fade, though, even though he's projected for less ownership, 83% owned. You have T. Higgins. You don't have Noah Fant this week, so maybe that makes you capable of playing a Drew Sample type, I guess. Is Hudson still playing? Tanner Hudson not getting snaps, so it would be Drew Sample. Drew Sample played 38 snaps last week. There's ways to fade Jamar Chase is the main point here. Jamar Chase here at 83% owned. Like, he's got the upside. Browning, if people who watch film have said his biggest issue is that he just forces targets to the first read. Didn't really happen. Didn't work out that well versus Minnesota. I'm not sure it's as simple as that. But I worry that Jamar Chase gets overplayed here at 83% expected ownership. Even if he comes in at 75, that's a lot. So to me, if not playing Jamar Chase, boost T. Higgins, boost the Denver defense, even though you'll get them enough. I think, to me, Achane is a much harder fade to figure out, even though we've talked about the game theory ways you can do that. Fading Jamar Chase to me feels a lot more natural on the slate, where in general, if you have a super chalky pass catcher and they're not Puka Nacua and PPR, it's always easier to fade a receiver than it is a running back. Same logic I would have for Jamar Chase today. Number 3 is Tyreek Hill at 60% ownership, so a pretty big chasm between him, Chase, and Achane. That said, Tyreek, as I mentioned, a 28% target per out run, getting 7.7 targets a game. The Tyreek role is still nowhere near as good as it was a couple years ago, so don't get comfortable with that line of thought. But that said, Tyreek, the efficiencies come up, 0.5 EPA per target. We're talking about that getting closer to where he used to be. He's getting 2.7 deep targets a game, only 0.7 in the red zone, so not a fantastic red zone role. But Tyreek Hill has been better. I'm as critical of Tyreek Hill as anybody. I hard faded him in best ball this year. I could still live with that. But Tyreek Hill in the spot versus a Jets secondary that's not been that good. Does play man defense a third of the time. I mean, Tyreek Hill has been, in my opinion, and based on the data, 3.6 yards per out run versus man. Waddle's at 2. 2.5 yards per out run versus zone. Waddle's at 1.9. Target rate is substantially higher for Tyreek. Maybe that flips Waddle's way. Maybe that's your way to get unique. But Hill this year so far has been like a much better player than Waddle. I know people don't love to hear that because they love Jalen Waddle. But Tyreek, for as much as he sucks, I think Waddle has been appreciably worse than like every data point I could look at. Garrett Wilson, 59% ownership for him. Obviously love him with a Justin Fields stack. I do think with Fields ownership being high here, the projection being high, pairing Garrett Wilson with him will be one way to get the ownership product down and make the team make more sense. There is nobody else in the Jets commanding a target share anywhere near Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's at 30% per route run. Everybody else in the team under 15. Tight ends are closer to 12. Alan Lazard is getting targeted 14% of the time. Reynolds, 13% of the time he's running a route. There's just no work for anybody really besides Garrett Wilson here. His red zone role isn't fantastic. Only 0.7 targets a game there, none of which are inside the 10-yard line. But for Garrett Wilson, still one of my favorite plays on the slate as well. And that Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields stack has been one I've talked about since the moment they signed together in the same team. Even before that, there were rumors of them being together. I still like that combo a lot here. And at their price tags of Wilson at 6,200, I will be dying on the hill of Justin Fields to Garrett Wilson tonight. If you want to fade me, that's the way to do that. Justin Field, 57% ownership for him, or excuse me, Chase Brown, 57. Justin Fields just on my brain. Chase Brown, 57% ownership expected for him. Chase Brown has been really suffering with the offense being dog shit. The workload is still good for him, though, but it's a tough matchup versus Denver. But Chase Brown getting 3 red zone opportunities a game, 2 inside the 10-yard line, 19.3 intended touches overall. His efficiency has been awful, but he's still missing about 15% of the tackles he faces in the run game. That's fine. Chase Brown's not been as bad as people think. He's just kind of suffering with the offense here. Really have no issue with Chase Brown at 6,600 on the slate, but certainly if the Broncos fail, Chase Brown likely to fail or get closer to a fail outcome for sure. Tyreek is a good dude, has never given up on a team. That's true. That's what we all say about Tyreek. Give me Tyreek over a business decision, Jamar. That's tough. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think you could call Jamar Chase some sort of cancerous player and Tyreek not. Who would I have as captain for Cincinnati Denver game? It's frankly, I'm not playing the showdown slates today because the money is mostly in the larger tournament, and I just rather focus my energy there. I mean, Dobbins captain, Bo Nix captain with pass catchers. I think would be the first places I would go to. But Sutton, Franklin would rotate in. I would just play the Denver side, really. Choose your favorite there. For sure, they're both in the same boat. Like, I don't think Jamar Chase and Tyreek are on the same boat, to be honest. I think Jamar Chase played his ass off without a contract last year. I don't think Tyreek would do that in a million years, but look, you can dislike the player you want. I just don't think that Jamar Chase and Tyreek, even if Jamar Chase is like the worst player in football this year, doesn't even come close to paying off the number 1 pick, I would not bury him as much as I would like what Tyreek gave you last year was just shitting in your mouth. This year he's getting back to it a little bit. I don't know. I don't view them the same, even though I'm certainly more in favor of fading Chase than Tyreek on the slate. A lot of ownership going Cortland Sutton's way, 56% ownership. So right, pretty much dead even Chase Brown expected there. Breece Hall, 51.5%. Certainly Braylon Allen getting more than enough work at this point to worry about Breece Hall a little bit. Breece Hall in the year, though, still averaging 17 to 10 touches a game compared to 6 for Braylon Allen. Red zone role is favorite Allen, though, with 2 inside the red zone per game compared to 1.3 for Breece Hall. A snap count last week. Let me check that real fast. Breece played 38 snaps. Braylon Allen played 23. That's getting a little bit closer than you'd want to see. I think Breece, to me, half the field's ownership. You want to be there, you can. But if you're not playing Breece, boost Braylon Allen. I guess boost Isaiah Davis more so in showdowns. It's a lot of ownership for Breece. Low-owned guys on the slate. Well, Fields projected for 28% ownership. Seems to be your second highest owned QB. Bo Nix actually looking like not a pivot point for Fields because he's expected to have a 38% ownership. So I thought Bo Nix might be sneaky. That said, Justin Fields, okay. I'd rather play Fields, but it's not what we're getting here. Tua Tagovailoa, 18% ownership expected. A little bit higher than I would have thought. Who is your low-owned? So Browning only 16%. All right. Really not a super low-owned QB on the slate. Kind of thought Browning might come in under 10. I guess I could still make that bet that Browning comes in under 10. But this is more flat QB ownership than I expected, and I didn't expect Bo Nix to be number 1. So a little bit different ownership than I would have thought. Guys under, let's say, or around 15% or less. Troy Franklin under 15, Bengals D at 10%, Darren Waller under 10. I think he can very easily catch a touchdown today. And in fact, that's probably like the only role he'll have on the team because we'll see how much he can actually play snap count wise. RJ Harvey, a pivot to J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins has been the lead back by a pretty decent margin, but Harvey certainly in the game where Denver runs away with it. You could see more work for Harvey, and Harvey could break a long touchdown out of nowhere, even though I don't think he's very complete running back right now. Adam Troutman taking snaps away from Evan Ingram is definitely a possibility. He's at 5%. Tanner Connor for the Jets. Not really for me. Marvin Mims at 3%. Really only takes them realizing, hey, we should maybe scheme this guy some targets. He can get there. Jeremy Ruckert, probably not for me. Drew Sample at 2,500. I'll play some of today just because he'll be an unknown piece that should be the lead inline tight end for Cincinnati. Braylon Allen, again, talked about him. Ollie Gordon talked about him. These guys under 3%. Kind of like a Justice Hill play yesterday in that afternoon slate. Not a lot of fun plays, though, under 10% ownership. So I don't really know what the way to get unique is, but we'll try to figure it out as we go. Let's go to the ETR data next. Let's see. All right, here's all our settings. We're going to build a cash game optimal lineup now. And the goal here of building optimal lineups on the solver, let me turn off variance, and I also have to do 2 projection changes because the work never ends, you know? All right, projection here will make it Jamar Chase, 3.9 instead of 4. Achane, 2.9 instead of 3. There we go. Fractionally changing a decimal, but not really changing the projection. But here's the solver's data, guys. Of course, ETR's data on the solver. Solver more of a traditional optimizer as opposed to stochastic sims tool. Great way to check it out. Use that promo code SPLASH down below if you want to see the solver in action for yourself. Your cash game optimal, if you're playing a Monday Night Football doubleheader cash game at 12:25 p.m. on the East Coast, you should play this lineup. Justin Fields, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, Cortland Sutton makes it, Mike Gesicki makes it, Chase Brown, Broncos D. So no variance put on here, just pure projection. That is your lineup. You do kind of naturally see a Jets game stack here with Fields, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, a double with 2 bringbacks of Tyreek Hill and Achane. So it sucks, man. You're really not going to get unique game stack in the Jets unless you fade one of the key players. Still think it's easier to fade Breece Hall than Garrett Wilson, but definitely a lot of this Jets-Dolphins stuff here. Surprise, Chase Brown makes it over Dobbins. Yeah, that's ETR data for you. Overall in the top 25, Cortland Sutton makes every lineup. Devon Achane makes every lineup. So once again, same stuff we talked about yesterday where Chris Olave made every lineup. McCaffrey, I believe, made every lineup. I forget what it was on ETR, but the one that comes to mind is like it was really easy to strip away Chris Olave right away. He ended up paying off despite getting a touchdown. On today's slate, if you fade Cortland Sutton, if you fade Devon Achane, at least relative to ETR users, you're going to get off the beaten path of what those guys are building because these guys get into 100% of the top projected lineups. They're going to easily creep into more lineups across ETR's entire portfolio than people may want. So Achane and Sutton, the two obvious fades right away. Player stack-wise, half of these lineups have Achane and Tyreek Hill. Game stack-wise, nothing really noteworthy here, but you are getting a lot of Jets-Dolphins game stackery. Team stack-wise, 92% of lineups have at least 2 Jets. 44% more, or 44% of that have 3 Jets. Another 12% have 4 Jets. So the shitty part, again, is that the Jet stacks project the best. Still love Fields, but I'm going to have to really dig into the data to figure out how to get unique on this. It seems like right away, maybe you fade Fields. Oh, man. Fade Fields, play Tua, still play a Jets game stack, but from the Dolphins side. That seems like a credible way to do it. That said, 90% of these top lineups still have at least 2 Dolphins. 36% of them have at least 3. Broncos-wise, man, it seems like the team to play here and to stack is the Broncos. Or not the Broncos, is the Bengals. Because 9 out of 10 lineups here, 90% plus of these lineups have Broncos in multiples, have Dolphins in multiples, have Jets in multiples. So right away, if you play Broncos, you're losing some projection, but you're still capturing a game stack that has the upside to win in a 2-gamer. So based on the ETR data, unfortunately, you should probably play some more Bengals. Let's give some main slate boosts, though, here. And again, we'll boost the game stacking as well as we always try to do, even though I should probably save it at this point. We'll go 17.5% boost for same team RBs and 17.5% boost for opponents. Relative to our QB, we'll build 250 lineups here with ETR variants on, and we'll run a sim. Let's see what we get with this. All right. I got to think the Bengals stuff is going to sim highly. Or Jets stuff with like a shitty Jets receiver. Maybe that's something that comes up. We'll see what we get, guys. We're running the sim now, but show some love if you can. Subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Of course, join the Discord as well. It's $5 to join. Great place to talk about the games, talk about anything you're seeing, talk about any injury stuff as well. I always try to give my take when something important breaks injury-wise. Malik Neighbors' ACL tear. Wan'Dale Robinson is probably one of the more valuable players in basketball right now, even if the entire Giants offense craters. That's kind of stuff we talk about in the Discord a lot. You also get access to my data sheet, a premium video every week where I go game by game looking at all the advanced analytics that not a lot of people out there use. EPA stuff in particular is, I think, from what I learned in my time running Football Outsiders, most important data point in football, and yet people don't use it enough. They don't have access to it. So you get that stuff with my data sheet here, and of course, being a part of the channel. So support the show, all that. All right, sorry, we don't have the big tournaments again. I hate the way that ETR does this. Just build me a milli maker for every slate. I think would be my ideal. What has the most entries? Quarter Jukebox has the most entries in it. Let's try that. Portfolio tool, also an important one to highlight here, even though I don't show it on stream often. What this does is basically allows you to build 15 different portfolios of however many lineups you want. If you're playing a 20 max, playing 150 max, it is a great tool that's part of the solver. I don't know how much they're promoting it, but similar thing Run the Sims does as well with Shady Advice, made some portfolio tool. If you're trying to get in a good set of lineups that build off of each other a little bit, where one lineup might have a giant stack, let's say, then one team will have the opposing stack, have the opposing defense. That's sort of what will happen when you use the portfolio tool. So it is a nice tool. I do recommend using it if you use ETR's solver tool. But your top sim lineups according to ETR data, according to Mike Leone and the crew, we got, just blame him for any bad lineups. Bo Nix, Devon Achane, J.K. Dobbins. So a Broncos mega stack here. QB +4. Bo Nix, Devon Achane, J.K. Dobbins. Very high ROI in this one as well with an 1,100 ROI, 1,100% ROI. Tyreek Hill, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Evan Ingram. So your 3 Broncos receivers along with Dobbins. Chase Brown makes this one as a bring back. You got some PPR checkdowns coming his way and an absolute ass-kicking kind of build. Dolphins D makes it as well to fade the Justin Fields stuff. High ROI team wins first place a good amount. So you see what ETR is pushing you towards there. Number 2 lineup is a field stack here. Very obvious one, though, that ETR's data gives you naturally in a cash game lineup. Fields, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, that Jet stack. Devon Achane is a bring back. Tyreek Hill, another bring back. Then you get 4 Broncos, a full fade on the Bengals with Courtland Sutton, Evan Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Broncos D. We'll say right away, one way to get unique on these 2-game slates, 4-team slates, just take out one team and see what you get in terms of lineups. You can take out the Jets if you want, take out the Dolphins if you want. But really, I think taking out the Bengals is going to be one that people do pretty naturally. Very high ROI on this lineup, but it's one way to get sneaky. I'm just not sure that fading the Bengals is like actually sneaky on the slate. Your number 3 lineup, another 1,000% ROI. Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Devon Achane again, Garrett Wilson again, Tyreek Hill again, Courtland Sutton makes this one, Mason Taylor makes this one, Dobbins still makes it, Broncos D still makes it. ETR loving the Broncos stuff. Number 4 ROI lineup is a Bo Nix one again. Bo Nix, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill, and then 5 Broncos. This is fucking insane. Courtland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Evan Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Broncos D. So just like another decimation, an onslaught kind of build of Denver stuff. And number 5, another Broncos onslaught. Bo Nix, Devon Achane, J.K. Dobbins, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, Courtland Sutton, Evan Ingram, Troy Franklin, Broncos D. Look, some of this is because I'm boosting the game stacking more, boosting my QB with his pass catchers and RB a little bit more than you might normally. That said, like for a 2-game slate, these are the kind of builds that win, whether it's a high dollar tournament, whether it's a large field tournament. If ETR is giving you these onslaughts, it makes me worry a little bit. But Denver onslaughts and literally all the top 5 to some capacity. Overall, in these top lineups here, your highest ROI guys, Malik Washington, he's at 11% of lineups, but has a 440% ROI. Evan Ingram in 32% of lineups, he has a 430% ROI. Broncos D in 39% of lineups, he has a 420% ROI. Josh Reynolds, only in 2% of lineups, but he does decrease the ownership of that Justin Fields stack. That is a 410% ROI. And Bo Nix might be one of the chalkier QBs here for ETR. He's got a 410% ROI for himself in 34% of these lineups. Troy Franklin, not that far behind. Tyreek Hill, not that far behind. Breece Hall, not that far behind. Where's Fields? Fields in 29% of the lineups with only a 340% ROI, which is lower than some of the others. Still high, though. Team stacks, a lot of Broncos stacking. 85% of these lineups have 2 or more Broncos. 84% of these lineups have 2 or more Dolphins. 60% of them have 2 or more Jets, so it does seem like the sim moved away from Jets a little bit, at least with ETR data. And Bengals overall here, only stacked in 58% of the teams. So the sims knock down Jets, knock down Bengals, multiple player stacks. Let's go to Stochastic next. And let's build 10,000 lineup pool for this one. All right, this is the main slate, right? Let's see what we get here, guys. Shout out to all you guys hanging out, whether you watch live or after the fact. Again, whenever I wait for these tools to load, I just plug. So please subscribe down below. Hit that like button, leave a comment. Of course, it does go a long way for me here. Just one dude showing you my gambling across the NFL for Monday, the showdown slates, Thursday, the showdown slate, Friday, the main slate, Sunday, my final takes video that won't be coming up this week because I will be going to my brother-in-law's wedding in New York. We'll still be on live before lock for Stochastic on Sunday, but no final takes videos. So prepare emotionally for that. But we'll get the must plays out on Friday, which is similar enough. So please do join the channel here, guys. Subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, hit the follow button. You'll see my shit funnel through here. Not my literal shit. I don't often post pictures of fecal matter on social media. Just my content is the shit. It is the shit or it's shit, depending upon how you view things. And check out Stochastic, guys. 15% off. All the data, the tools I show you here. It's all promo code SPLASH, whether it's a solver, whether it's Stochastic. And it does support the show. So if you need access to the stuff, whether you want the cheap packages, they're kind of simple lineup generator stuff, or the expensive stuff, the Sims Max, it's all 15% off and it's in perpetuity. It's really the best promo they have. And I probably don't do a good enough job saying that, but use that promo code SPLASH at Stochastic. Link down below. So do it. What does it hurt? You know? What does it hurt to support independent creators? All right, top 150 lineups here. We'll look at stochastic numbers, but right now it's top ROI lineup, also a Denver Onslaught. So Denver Onslaught's going to be on the menu for ETR users and stochastic users. Bo Nix, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Evan Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Broncos. That looks real similar to what we just saw in ETR. I feel like we might have seen that exact lineup. Well, I think it might have, yeah, actually, you might have seen that exact lineup. Leaves 1,900 on the table, so this is a double-header slate where you can leave money on the table based on the Sims, but that is a lot of Broncos shit. Tua Tagovailoa, Devon Achane, Chase Brown, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson is your number 2 lineup. Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, J.K. Dobbins, Broncos. ETR is not giving us as much Dolphin stuff as I would have thought. This one leaves 1,100 on the table, but has a 770% ROI. So a strong lineup here with a QB triple stack with 1 bring back. Number 3 is Fields, Achane, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Mason Taylor, Chase Brown, Broncos. Again, feels a little similar to what we saw in ETR. So I don't think we got T. Higgins in. So I actually like this lineup a lot. Fuck, man. I don't know. I got to tell you guys, like I like to give the 3 ways to get unique here. I'm really good at that for the showdown. For this slate, everything I like is going to get played. So I think that's a little spooky. But a Fields triple with 2 bringbacks, that should come up naturally for a lot of people. Number 4 lineup here is another Jets double with 2 bringbacks. Fields, Achane, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle, Evan Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Broncos. So I think on this slate in particular, taking a Tyreek lineup, going down to Waddle, even though I do think Waddle is a significantly worse player based upon just the results we've had so far this year. And frankly, for me, going back to last year, even with Tyreek not being that good, like he was still earning targets better than Waddle. This one leaves 1,800 on the table, though. I think that's one way to play it. Like swap down from Jamar Chase to Higgins. That's leaving a lot of money on the table. Swap down from Hill to Waddle. You can't really swap down, I think, from Garrett Wilson to Josh Reynolds. I just don't think that works. Swapping down from Cortland Sutton to Troy Franklin or Marvin Mims or Evan Ingram, I guess. That could work. It's one way to get unique, maybe. Number 5 is a Bo Nix lineup here. Denver double with 1 bringback. Bo Nix, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, J.K. Dobbins, and Broncos. So that's your top 5. We got 2 Denver stacks, 2 Jet stacks, 1 Miami stack. Cincinnati not coming up. If you have the balls, play Cincinnati. It's probably going to be the least owned components. So that shootout coming in Big D last night. Did not think Dak could hang 40. Look, he's been playing well. I didn't think so either. To me, it also speaks the fragility in game that occurs where like they had that one takeaway where Love got, stripped in like side the 20. That kind of, I feel like turned the momentum in that game where I personally don't think it would have run the same way. Didn't get that other first half touchdown that resulted from that. That's football. There's a lot of variance within one game. That's why in showdowns, you're often paid off by just playing the inverse build. But I do think because that was such an obvious situation last night, people probably overplay some of the stuff that's kind of similar, like overplaying a shootout from Cincinnati, maybe. We'll see. The data's definitely not pushing Cincinnati, but I think that probably gets played a little bit more because of, again, same stuff we talk about every video, just humbling yourself and realizing that, like, if you think something, a lot of people who are playing the same games are going to think the exact same thing. That first thought you have is often duplicated by many other people out there, whether you're me, whether you guys watching this video. People will see that same thing where it's like, oh, everybody thought, people couldn't get there versus the Packers D, and then the Cowboys did it. They're going to think the same thing about Cincinnati today versus the Denver defense, and maybe that makes them a little bit overowned relatively. In terms of ROI, though, in these top 150, Fields is a positive ROI. Nobody else has one, so happy to see Fields coming up well here, even though I think he's going to be more than well played today. No single stacks have a positive ROI besides Fields. The rushing upside is probably the main thing here. Again, Fields running about 9 times per game in his limited sample size, and that includes with him getting hurt, in week 2 and not playing a full game there. So Fields running a lot. QB double stacks, it's Fields with positive ROI, everybody else negative. 5% ROI for Fields in a double stack, probably mostly Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson stuff. And QB +3, triple stacks here. Nobody has a positive ROI, but Fields is the most close to positive. 2 is at number 2, Bo Nix at number 3, and Jake Browning at number 4. Arian Smith. He played 54 routes last week. It's a lot of routes for Arian Smith. I don't think the target earning is there, but look, it's a 2-game slate. You can take your shot on those guys if you want. The tough part is like you try to fit in those guys, try to fit in, I don't know, the shitty players. You end up losing a lot of money on that more often than not because they're not really projectable. You want to be mindful of the projection, but you take your shot. It's going to be enough Garrett Wilson ownership that I would say more so taking the shot at Reynolds, taking the shot at Lazard. It's probably the move, but Aaron Smith played a lot. Overall exposures here. We got 97%. Oh my God. Top 150 lineups here. 97% Devon Achane, Fields at 88. So Stochastic basically making him an unfadeable play. Their top 150. Really think as much as Achane might be a good play, just play him in half your lineups. Like, look, this is the way that I play. I think it's how you have to play. If you're not maxing out every tournament, you got to be willing to fade guys a little bit, not full fade him because Achane's still clearly one of the top projected plays in the slate. He's getting targeted more than the Dolphins' own receivers are. Like, that shit matters. But when the sim is telling you just play the guy straight away, all it takes is fucking Achane getting hurt. All it takes is Achane losing a touchdown to Ollie Gordon. He doesn't get enough PPR points. I think Achane's likely to make a lineup, but I don't think he's 97% likely to make a lineup. Broncos D and 76% of these lineups, Fields at 50. This is fucking crazy, man. It's a 2-game slate, but like, Stochastic just pushing you towards very obvious chalk here. J.K. Dobbins at number 3, 65% ownership. And Stochastic's top 150. The field's going to be at 49. So Dobbins looked like a strong play. Obviously, Broncos D, a natural correlation with Dobbins. Breece Hall, 64% exposure. Fields at 51. Big stand there. And Tyreek, 64% exposure. Fields at 59. Really concentrated lineups here for Stochastic. As you know, it will be naturally in the 2-game slate. But right away, you play Harvey. The upside's not as huge, but he can certainly catch or break one of the touchdowns here. It's a possibility. If somehow the Broncos D doesn't get there, Bengals stacks could be direct leverage against them, or just not playing the defense could be it. Be willing to play defense with your stack too. I think this in this slate more than usual too, just because like this is so much Broncos D coming up, and they're the best play in the slate, but like all it takes is one return touchdown, one bullshit pick six. Tua we know can give it away. Fields we know can give it away. Bo Nix we know can give it away. Like there's ways to not play the Broncos. Overall highest leverage, guys. We got Broncos D and 27% leverage here. Big stand here, even though they are already in 50% of lineups. That is a massive stand for a defense on a 2-game slate. J.K. Dobbins, 16% leverage more in the field. He's in about 2/3 of the lineups. Fields going to be at half the lineups. Justin Fields, 15% leverage here. He is in 43% of lineups. Fields at 28. So the sim staying more Justin Fields than not, even though Bo Nix is coming up a good amount as well. Breece Hall, 13% leverage here. Stochastic wants you to play 64%. The field's at 51. And Mike Gesicki, 12% leverage with no Noah Fant out there. Suppose they could play more Gesicki. More likely, though, it is a lot more Drew Sample with him being the inline tight end. But Gesicki's in 37% of the top 150. Fields at 24. Most negative leverage play is Jamar Chase being faded about 39% here. Stochastic only giving you in 45% of lineups. Fields at 83. So the sim is saying play RB chalk, fade wide receiver chalk. That is a general way in DFS to handle it. Still, though, it's surprising to me to see like the sim go such a hard stand on fading Chase and such a non-fade on Devon Achane. Relative to ownership, though, you could just make a case to make like max one of those two guys, treat it like a showdown, split them up. It's been a profitable approach for me in the past. It's helped me win literally 25 grand on a slate. For Jamar Chase, I get it, but surprised to see the sim having that much of a stand in favor of Achane and against Chase. Dolphins D and only 7% of lineups. Fields at 21. Again, Fields not thrown picks so far to start the year, but Dolphins D is not coming up at all for Stochastic. And I think they have a credible case as much as any defense on the slate, relative to a 2-game slate. Chase Brown, 43% exposure. Fields at 56. So that's about a 14% negative leverage stand. Jake Browning, Stochastic sims are barely playing him under 5% exposure. Fields at 18. That's negative 14% leverage. And Bo Nix, actually a soft fade on him. He's still in 30% of lineups. Fields at 37, but that is negative 7% leverage. So a pro stand on Justin Fields, anti-stand by a little bit on Bo Nix, big anti-stand on Jake Browning, and an in-favor stand in Stochastic sims for Tua Tagovailoa. Let's build a sim here. Hand build will be the final step in the process. But shout out to all the regulars, guys like Tyler. Appreciate the howdy. Appreciate all you guys watching live. Hit that like button. You guys know the deal at this point. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. I do a similar process for really all of the main slates that I'm playing, which are the Monday Showdown, Thursday Showdown, main slate on Friday. So do the deal. Subscribe. You guys know the deal. All right. Monday main slate here. Let's do 35% to first. I'm going to build with my heart, which is still a Field stack. So Fields, first guy in here. Rushing upside, soft secondary. I'm a chalk donkey here, but the stochastic sim was in favor of playing Fields more than not. So we will go Justin Fields here. Again, stacking up with Garrett Wilson. One way to strip some ownership away for people that are going to go naked Fields, which on this slate, on a 2-gamer, I really would do more game stacking than not for the Jets, even if that's uncomfortable. It's going to be a lot more comfortable for people just to go, hey, Fields will have the rushing upside. I can get there without a pass catcher, fade Garrett Wilson's ownership. But in reality, if you have Fields at, like, let's say he ends up 33% owned, something like that, you have Garrett Wilson at 50 to 60% owned, there's going to be less pairings of Fields with Garrett Wilson, even though it doesn't feel that way. So I still would rather go Fields with Wilson if I'm hand building here. At RB, HN PPR-wise does feel like he gets there. So I'm going to go HN, still put him in this lineup. I am going to fade Jamar Chase for T. Higgins. Do you think Jamar Chase is due to get better versus man defense? The fact that he's only been targeted 10% of the time he's running a route versus man and being incredibly inefficient while doing so. I think it was like a negative 2 point. I can actually just look it up real fast. Negative 2.4 EPA per target. No, negative 2 flat EPA per target for Jamar Chase against man defense. That probably won't hold, but the fact that Higgins has been good versus man, Chase hasn't. That's just one case for me to play Higgins today. But really, it's just that Chase is going to be 85% owned, play the lesser owned receiver, gets a similar workload, and that is T. Higgins. Or just fade the pass game entirely, I guess. I'm going to still go Dobbins here. Not an RJ Harvey believer. Dobbins clearly leading in workload right now. More high value touches for him, and Denver with the high team total. Hard for me to see a world where Dobbins doesn't get a touchdown, even though certainly when you're playing a lot of lineups, you have to play that outcome sometimes. Sim loved Broncos D. Let's give the sim what it wants. Let's not get too creative there or too cute there. Better way to say that. 5,600 per spot left. I like Tyreek Hill enough. Ugh. Feels like I'm just fucking chalking it up, though. I'll go Tyreek Hill. Tight end, we really... Oh, there's just... You have to leave so much money on the table, huh? I'm going to go to Drew Sample. I don't think it's a guarantee he beats out all these guys. But I don't think it's a guarantee that these guys score well. So it's possible Drew Sample gives me 2 catches for 30 and a touchdown. I think that's enough to compete with Ingram, Waller, Gesicki, Mason Taylor for sure. So I'm going to go that way. And then to flex, we have 7,700 left. We can't afford Jamar Chase, but we could leave 1,100 and go to Chase Brown. So we did play more Bengals. We still played Denver D. Does it make sense to play Denver D at this point? I mean, I think we're saying Denver gives up a touch or gets a touchdown off of Browning, maybe a special teams one. Let's see what we get here. So this is a large contest, 35% to first. Let's run a sim here. I mean, spin the tight end roulette wheel. I think playing Drew Sample counts as that. Negative 15%. Suck my dick. Like, I got to tell you guys, I get so mad at the single lineup sims when I'm like, I think this is credible. The sim's like, fuck off, you piece of shit. Like, it never makes me feel great. If we're playing Higgins Sample, all right, you know what? Let's get weird. At this point, I think we just play Browning. If I'm going to play this many guys and then also play or not play the Broncos D, let's put in Jamar Chase. This leaves us 2,700. Then we could put in Dolphins D. We'll say that Garrett Wilson still gets there, but the Dolphins D gets a takeaway, which, man, I don't want to fade Fields on the slate, but I think this might give us a positive ROI. Go to Gesicki and drop down from T. No, I won't. Or what is the Captain America? I don't think that I will. I got worse. All right, fine. Sim does not like Jake Browning. We'll go back to Fields. Motherfucker. We'll go Sample to Gesicki. Do I really want to do that? Gesicki and Sample. That's leaving way too much money. I'm going to fade Jamar Chase for Drew Sample. I mean, if that hits, I guess that would win a lot of money. So we got a Denver double. It does want Broncos D. I agree with that. All right, Broncos D gets in. We have 7,300 left. We still have to play Chase Brown then. All right, so the team here that I'm now simming out is Fields, HN, Dobbins, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Gesicki, Chase Brown, Broncos. I don't think Stochastic uses a play-by-play sim for this stuff. All right, that is a high ROI. That's the one. So final team here in the hand-built sim, Fields, Achane, Dobbins, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Gesicki, Chase Brown. So we're fading Jamar Chase, but saying all the receiving production goes to these guys. It's a little tough for Broncos D to still hit, I think, when you're playing 3 pass catchers, but we can get a return touchdown. We can get a Browning major fuck up. That's why he doesn't make it as a stack with his receivers. I would play this team. 0.5% win rate. It works. Oof. All right. This is going to be a fucking tough slate. I'm excited to play it. This is going to be a tough slate. But guys, I'm going to give you 3 ways to get unique based on what we just saw here. Before I do that, though, please do check out the sponsors or check out the shows, the ways to support this channel and me doing what I do, which is giving you guys my best takes I possibly can based on my years of doing this work, ran Football Outsiders. I've built up a lot of knowledge in this space, and I would like it to not go for nothing. So please subscribe down below with the like button. Check out Stochastic, 15% off. Check out the Solver, actually no money saved on the Solver, but that's the way it goes. But use the promo code SPLASH the Solver anyway. Join the Discord. $5 to join. Do all that stuff, please. My 3 ways to get unique on this slate. Number 1 would be, unfortunately, and again, it's not mean that it's like a great play, but I just don't think you're getting enough of it. Playing Bengals stacks, it's tough, but we did see it happen yesterday, which does make me worry a little bit that people go, well, maybe the Bengals could do it today. But like the Jake Browning game last week was so bad. He shouldn't be that bad forever. I don't love the stack. Like I'd rather play Fields. I'd rather play Bo Nix. Candidly, I hate the guy and I hate the team. I'd rather play Tua, but I do think playing Jake Browning on a 2-game slate, it makes sense. Number 2 way to get unique, which is always going to be relevant. Thanksgiving slate, same thing. You're getting Dolphins and Jets in every lineup. You are getting Broncos in every lineup. Just fade one of the teams. Hope that they don't hit. Feel free to stack that up with the opposing defense as well. But that happens so often on slates. I think it was this last Thanksgiving. It was like the Jags were in every lineup. A couple years ago, it was the Bills in every lineup. People were getting 5+, even in just like off of median projections. When you fade that team that comes up so much naturally, and it could be any of the teams on the slate because you're getting a lot of them, just fade one team out of the 4. That gets you unique and it gives you a shot at capturing the upside and also capturing a build where like just one team gets smoked. Like somebody could lose today. Everybody's going to expect to be Cincinnati, but like the Jets could lose fucking 3-30 or something. The Dolphins could lose 3-30. It can happen. So fading one team on the slate, always a good way to approach things on these 2-gamers, 3-gamers, stuff like that. Third way to get unique. This is a player take stand, which I don't love to give out as like a way to get unique, but I just think Drew Sample is going to get underplayed. Noah Fant was playing a decent amount overall, getting targeted a decent amount. People are going to go to Gesicki more, and like an inline tight end is still something that matters. And right now, even with Noah Fant playing the last few games, Drew Sample's playing 34 snaps a game compared to Gesicki playing 23. Granted, Drew Sample's running only 9 routes a game compared to Gesicki's 16. But like it's not as far off as it thinks. Sample's still getting 22% target per out run. I mean, I have a vibe for Drew Sample today, which is not the vibe you want. But it's also, it's like you're leaving so much money playing Drew Sample. So I think that's a way to get unique, but leaving salary, you could do it more on the 2-game slate. So if you want to not have a player take one, leave more salary. You saw the top 7 lineups leaving 1,500 plus, almost 2K. You could probably leave like 3K on the, on the of salary left on the slate. I think there's ways to do that. So that'd be my third way to get unique. But guys, I will be on Stochastics live before lock today at 6:15 Eastern because it is an early start today. Make sure to keep that in mind. A 7:15 Eastern start, so you have to get your lineups in a little bit earlier than you would normally for Monday Night Football Showdown. But I'll be on that show later today with Laffy, so if you want some more takes from me, I'm going to be working on this stuff this afternoon. Might have some more nuanced takes as we get there, but tune into that one later today. And of course, I'll be back on Thursday for the Showdown slate, Friday for the main slate, and that's going to be the content for this week, guys. So join me then. Again, subscribe down below with the like button. Leave a comment. You guys know the deal with that. At this point, Stochastic, 15% off, promo code SPLASH. Solver, no money off, but still use promo code SPLASH on there. Discord, $5 to join, especially if you want the data I talk about here. There's a data sheet right now waiting for you on the Discord and the YouTube community tab if you want to join the channel and see all the stuff here that I reference. Target numbers, EPA numbers, all that shit. It goes into my data sheet that I use to prep for myself for every slate, every piece of content that I do. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time on this channel. And I will see you guys again soon. So, hey, you're vibing with Sample. I boy, fucking hate it, man. I hope he hits, but this slate is going to be a tough one, guys. Strap in. I'll see you guys later today on Live Before Lock. Enjoy your days. Good luck, and see you soon. Bye, guys.